He trained every single day for 14 years, without gaining a single skill. No magic, no powers, no special title, just one technique: parry. Everyone called him a failure, a joke. Even the guilds turned him away. But when a deadly monster slaughtered a group of elite adventurers in seconds, he did something no one else could, and that's when everything changed. Nor wasn't born special. He didn't have some divine lineage or forgotten bloodline. He was just a kid in a small town, doing what he could to survive. His father vanished when he was young, never came back. His mother, too sick to work, spent most of her life in bed. So Nor took on everything: cleaning, cooking, hunting rabbits, just so his mom could have a bit of protein for dinner. Even covered in soot and exhaustion, he smiled. He told her not to worry, that he'd take care of everything. But one night, after preparing her favorite stew, he came home, and she was gone. No goodbyes, no final words, just silence. He buried her outside their cottage, and from that day on, he was truly alone. But even with no one left, Nor didn't break. Instead, he remembered something: his father's stories. Tales of mighty adventurers who protected the weak, lifted curses, slayed dragons, heroes who made the world better, even if no one thanked them. That spark stayed with him. So one day, after feeding the animals and cleaning his tiny home, he packed up and set out toward the city. He didn't have gold or gear, but he had a dream: become an adventurer. He imagined swords, spells, and glory. What he found instead was rejection. The guild told him to train first, pick a class, learn some skills. So he tried. Swordsmanship? No talent. Warrior school? They laughed. Hunter? Kicked out. Thief? Rejected. Mage? Useless. Healer? Failed. One by one, every school tossed him aside. The only thing he ever learned? Parry. Just a simple block and deflect move. So he returned to his cottage, heart heavy, and decided if no one would teach him, he'd teach himself. Every day he trained that one move: parry. Against logs, against wind, against falling rocks. 10 attacks, then 50, then 100. 14 years passed. No magic, no skills, no titles, but he could parry 1,000 strikes without flinching. And then it happened. One afternoon, while finishing a labor job in town, Nor heard a scream echoing from the woods. Without hesitation, he ran toward it, ignoring warnings, ignoring fear. Inside a dark cave, he saw a scene straight from a nightmare. A girl trapped in magical barbed wire, adventurers bloodied and overwhelmed, and a massive minotaur demon wielding a black axe the size of a wagon. Within seconds, the beast crushed their leader, flung bodies like rag dolls, and turned its attention to the girl. Nor didn't hesitate. He threw a rock, just enough to catch the monster's eye, just enough to make it charge. He ran, but the monster was fast, too fast. He turned around, heart pounding, raised his sword, and parried. The impact shook the ground. The demon was blasted into the cave wall, Nor blinked. He'd never hit anything that hard before. The beast roared and lunged again, faster, angrier. He parried, again, every strike perfectly deflected, but he couldn't attack. He had no offense, no magic, just defense. The minotaur pivoted, aiming for the girl. Nor leapt between them, used his feather step, a speed boost he'd unknowingly developed from years of movement training. His sword shattered, but the final parry was so powerful, the demon's own axe bounced back and took its head off. The girl stared, stunned. Nor just looked at the broken blade and muttered, "That was too close." He didn't wait for applause. He didn't ask for a reward. He just walked away. What he didn't know was that the girl he saved was a noble, Lady Lynn Clay. Within hours, her family's guards, scouts, and even scientists filled the cave. They found traces of cursed dark magic. The monster hadn't wandered there. It was sent, an assassination attempt. And the man who saved her, no one even knew his name. The next morning, Nor was back in town, carrying crates, sweeping alleys, helping the elderly. To him, it was just another day. He heard rumors of a monster attack and a mysterious saviors, but figured it was someone else. When the guildmaster nervously mentioned the Minotaur incident, Nor shrugged. "Sounds like a strong guy handled it," he said, not realizing they were talking about him. Lady Lynn tracked him down. When she found him, she asked only one thing: "Why didn't you tell anyone?" He replied, "I didn't think it mattered." She tried to thank him, reward him, even brought him to her family's mansion. Gold, land, anything he wanted. He refused it all. The nobles were stunned. Who says no to treasure? But Nor only accepted one gift: a heavy black sword once wielded by Lynn's father, the Lord Clay. Even then, he thought it was a secondhand tool he could use to dig ditches. When asked to test the blade, Nor swung it with one hand. A two-handed sword turned into a wind-blasting weapon. The room fell silent. The nobles watched, jaws dropped, and when asked if he'd train Lin or stay with the family, he simply said, "I need to get back to work." They begged him to stay, but he had no interest in titles or fame. To him, helping others was enough. As he walked out the gates, guards and nobles watching, no one really knew who he was, only that someone like him should not exist. But while Nor returned to odd jobs and quiet training, the world around him began to stir. The cursed Mana Stone, the Minotaur, the enemy kingdom of Derry, all signs pointed to war. Tensions rose, spies whispered, and somewhere deep in the capital, the Clay family quietly investigated the nameless man who had saved their daughter. Who was he really? Where did he train? And what would happen if someone that strong chose a side? He trained alone. He failed every school. He never unlocked a skill, but in the moment that mattered most, he saved a noble's life, killed a demon, and shook a kingdom. Nor doesn't see himself as a hero. He thinks he's just lucky. But the truth? He might be the strongest adventurer that no one's ever heard of.